During the Ming dynasty, the imperial jade seal was stolen, and the emperor ordered the imperial spy, Dragon 9, to pursue the thief Ghost. He followed clues to a tavern at the foot of the Tian Shan Mountains, where 4 female tavern keepers were actually disciples of the Tian Shan sect. Thief Ghost had disguised himself as the leader of the Tian Shan sect, with 7 disciples under his command, 4 of whom were present. Anticipating Dragon 9's pursuit, Thief Ghost poisoned his drink, intending to strike first. Seeing Dragon 9 seemingly poisoned and writhing in pain on the ground, the 4 sisters were about to draw their swords when he stood up, forcing the poison out of his body. Dragon 9 revealed his true identity, but they refused to believe him and attacked him together. Dragon 9's lengthy finger dominated the martial world, and even against 4 opponents, he remained effortlessly in control. As the 4 sisters attacked him together, Dragon 9, agile as a swallow, continuously retreated, avoiding their fatal strikes with ease and humorously intercepting their thrusts. At this moment, Thief Ghost also unleashed a move, the Dragon Tornado Blade technique, transforming into a huge snowball crashing towards them. However, this move didn't discriminate between friend and foe, causing casualties among his own disciples. The spinning snowball, carrying sharp blades, relentlessly pursued Dragon 9, forcing him to turn and flee. His friend Ximen, seeing this, hurriedly came to his aid. Ximen, known as the sword god in the martial world, leaped down and thrust his sword straight at the snowball. In an instant, the snowball was shattered, and Thief Ghost's true form was revealed. Ximen then launched a fierce attack, driving Thief Ghost back step by step. In the midst of chaos, Thief Ghost pushed out a disciple to block Ximen's blade. Unable to retract his strike in time, the female disciple died under his sword. Seeing the opponent's shamelessness, Ximen's attacks became even swifter and fiercer, knocking aside Thief Ghost's 2 weapons. Ximen lunged forward, intending to unleash his final killing move, but Thief Ghost pushed out his last disciple Jade to act as a shield. Ximen could only partially retract his move, avoiding the opponent's vital points, and swiftly pulled Jade into his arms. However, she was still injured by the sword aura and fainted in his embrace. Thief Ghost took advantage of the opportunity to escape using lightness skills. Dragon 9 immediately followed suit and used the Lingxi finger to knock him down from the sky. Meanwhile, Dragon 9 himself opened his glider, put on sunglasses, and leisurely descended. The previously stolen Imperial Jade Seal had passed through several hands and had now ended up in the possession of Lord Yi of White Cloud City, known as Sword Saint. Dragon 9 couldn't find the Imperial Jade Seal, so he could only go play cards with his brothers. The Emperor's sister, Princess Phoenix, also came to join in the fun. While military exercises were being conducted within the Imperial City, suddenly there was a loud noise in the sky. A group of visitors from beyond descended from the heavens, with a golden dragon hovering in the sky. It turned out to be Yi. The guards were all on high alert, ready to attack him. However, Yi's figure was as fast as lightning, and with just a few movements, he immobilized them all. Yi soared into the air, and several sword lights were emitted from his sword, revealing several lines of large characters on the city wall. He hoped to challenge the sword god Ximen to a duel on the rooftop of the Imperial Palace. Dragon 9 recognized this move as the famous, heavenly ascension of the celestial immortal, and Princess Phoenix had long admired him. Yi had come for 2 reasons. The first was to have a duel between the Sword Saint and the Sword God, Ximen, and the second was to return the Imperial Jade Seal in his possession. He exerted his power and threw the Imperial Jade Seal towards Dragon 9. Dragon 9 leaped up and skillfully caught the flying object with 2 fingers. Afterwards, Dragon 9 handed the Imperial Jade Seal to the Emperor, who was overjoyed. Upon hearing that Yi wanted to have a decisive battle in the Forbidden City, something so audacious, the Emperor surprisingly agreed. He even ordered the creation of 8 golden plaques, summoning martial arts experts from all over the world to the palace to watch the battle. Who would receive them, and who would decide? This troublesome task fell on Dragon 9's shoulders. Dragon 9 felt troubled and could only go to the brothel to find pleasure. While they were bathing together, someone suddenly knocked on the door, saying that many people were looking for Dragon 9 in the hall. These martial artists came aggressively, actually for the golden plaques in his possession. They had placed huge bets on the outcome of the duel and now wanted to buy a golden plaque to enter the palace to watch the fight. Dragon 9 was at a loss for what to do. At this moment, a dwarf suddenly revealed that Yi had arranged to settle personal grievances with the Tang brothers at the adjacent tavern. Excited, everyone rushed to watch. The 2 Tang brothers were indeed waiting there, and even Princess Phoenix came to the scene to watch the excitement. Before long, Yi gracefully made his entrance. In the past, the Tang sect's 4 brothers were renowned throughout the world. The eldest brother was killed by Yi, and the second brother was forced to wander the martial world. Now, only the two of them remained. Tonight, they brought the Tang sect's top concealed weapon, the Heaven's Net Nails, in order to seek revenge against Yi. However, Yi showed no fear and leisurely took a sip of wine. Tang Fei flew into a rage on the spot, and the poisoned nails flew out like a storm, but Yi picked up his sword and used sword energy to block all the nails, then swiftly killed his opponent, destroying the entire tavern in the process. Yi stood on the rooftop, like a god descending, and Princess Phoenix was even more enamored with him. Dragon 9 watched Yi's departing figure and felt that something was amiss. Princess Phoenix followed Yi to a cave, but Yi suddenly coughed up blood inside. It turned out he hadn't come out unscathed, he had been struck by a poisoned nail, which hadn't taken effect immediately. Now someone came to assassinate Yi, and he drew his sword to fight. Amidst dodges and maneuvers, he surprisingly had the upper hand. As he finished his moves, the half-cut candle flying up was caught on the tip of his sword, and all the enemies fell down. Yi stated that as long as the princess could keep his secret, she wouldn't have to die. The princess naturally promised not to reveal anything. At this moment, Yi coughed again, and the princess hurriedly went to support him, asking him to sit aside. Worried about Ye's safety and hearing that the Tianshan Snow Lotus could detoxify, she planned to find one for him. Yi took out a leaf and promised that as long as the princess blew the leaf, he would come out to meet her. The princess didn't know how, so he patiently taught her. Blowing on the leaf together, the princess was immersed in this little intimacy. Before leaving, she promised to heal his injuries and let him fight Ximen in good health. Meanwhile, Ximen hadn't been idle either. He rescued Jade and made his specialty, wife's pancakes, for her. Previously, the head of the Tianshan sect had died at the hands of Dragon 9, so two other disciples of the Tianshan sect came to seek revenge from him. Dragon 9 told them the truth, that their master was Thief Ghost, and they could verify it with Jade. However, they refused to believe and accused Ximen of killing their 3 junior sisters, and Jade of colluding with Ximen out of fear, so now they were also targets of their pursuit. The two attacked with their swords, but Dragon 9's light attack was astounding. With a tip of his toe, he flew backward, easily dodging their strikes, and with a few effortless spins, his 2 fingers consecutively popped out, and after a few crisp sounds, the weapons in the hands of the two broke apart. Dragon 9 originally wanted to let the two go, but at this moment, there was suddenly a sound of horse neighing outside the crowd, and a corpse was dragged over. This person was the junior brother of the two from the Tianshan sect, his throat sealed by a sword, already lifeless. He happened to be skilled in making clay figurines that looked lifelike. In his hands were 3 figurines, Lu Tong, the eunuch steward, the 6th brother who ran the gambling den, and another figure whose face was not clearly visible. Since the first 2 had no martial arts skills, the last one was most likely the culprit. Dragon 9, in order to find clues, came to the gambling den opened by the 6th brother. Dragon 9 took out 5,000 silver tickets to bet with him. If he won, the 6th brother had to tell him the true identity of the faceless. After some contemplation, the 6th brother nodded in agreement. They decided to play a game of dice. After a dazzling operation, all the dice rolled by the 6th brother were 6s, totaling 108 points. In theory, this was already the highest possible score, and Dragon 9 couldn't possibly win. However, Dragon 9 calmly took the bowl and with a flick of his fingers, split one of the dice in half with his psychic finger, making the total 1 point higher than the 6th brother's. The defeated 6th brother could only admit defeat. Just as he was about to reveal, the gambling den suddenly plunged into darkness. When the lights came back on, the 6th brother had been silenced. The assailant was precise and ruthless, evidently a master. That night, Princess Phoenix obtained the Snow Lotus from the Emperor and went to the cave entrance to blow the leaf, but waited in vain for Yi. Early the next morning, as soon as she returned to the palace, she heard the news of the death of the eunuch steward Lu Tong. At night, she blew the leaf again on the roof. This time, Yi finally appeared, and the princess handed over the Snow Lotus to him. They chatted for a long time, and she believed that Yi would win in the duel. Later, the two of them sat on the roof and blew the leaves. The princess leaned on his shoulder voluntarily and promised to be by his side whether he lived or died, whether he won or lost. After saying this, the princess fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up, Yi had already left, and only Dragon 9 came to her. He warned Princess Phoenix that loving an extraordinary swordsman meant sharing his loneliness and enduring the torment of losing him at any time. In order to distract the princess, Dragon 9 could only take her to investigate the case. Now that the clues to the 3 puppets had completely disappeared, they had no choice but to find clever handiwork. He said he could restore the puppet in half an hour, but he didn't want to work under someone else's watchful eyes, so he sent them away. Dragon 9 took the princess out for a stroll by the lake. When Dragon 9 rushed back, the puppet on the table had been successfully restored. Surprisingly, the third puppet was Ximen, and, clever handiwork, had been brutally murdered. Could it really be Ximen's doing? In shock, Dragon 9 accidentally triggered a trap, and the secret room was filled with mechanisms. There were poisonous insects and scorpions on the ground. Frightened, Dragon 9 threw himself into the princess's arms and burst into tears. Fortunately, Ximen arrived in time and rescued them both. After finally crawling out of the secret room, they encountered an ambush in the courtyard. The terracotta warriors suddenly exploded, coming back to life in an instant. Ximen smashed the clay figures and single-handedly resolved the crisis. Afterwards, Ximen brought the two of them back to his house. Dragon 9 didn't believe Ximen could be the culprit. It must be someone else trying to frame him. The princess and Jade chatted, and she thought Ximen was cold and heartless, only loving his sword. But in Jade's eyes, he was emotionally rich, gentle, and considerate. She asked the princess if she had someone she liked, and the princess couldn't determine whether she truly loved Yi. Suddenly, a white dove flew in. It was a letter from Jade's two senior brothers, saying they were going to pay respects to their deceased master, and Ximen accompanied her. They had already found out that their master was Thief Ghost, so they no longer held a grudge against Ximen and even entrusted their younger sister to him. Shortly after, on the 15th day of the first lunar month, tonight is the time for the two to battle. The princess is very worried about Yi and goes to find him. The princess has seen Ximen's swordsmanship and is also concerned about Ye's injuries. But Yi says, in today's battle, neither of them can retreat. Yi is the illegitimate son of the Southern King. Although he has royal blood, he has no chance of becoming emperor, so he practices swordsmanship every day to become king in the realm of swordsmanship. That's just how the world works. If you can't become a king, you turn into a bandit. Ximen prepares to go out to battle, and Jade hopes to hear his confession before he leaves, because she thinks that any normal girl would want to hear the declaration from her beloved. However, Ximen only says, "You understand." Jade embraces him from behind, hoping for his safe return. Dragon 9 says he can give her a gold medal to enter the palace to watch the battle. Unexpectedly, in the evening, people from the martial arts world arrived outside the Forbidden City, each holding a gold medal. Moreover, these gold medals seemed flawless. Even Dragon 9 found it difficult to discern their authenticity. The Emperor could only mobilize a large number of Imperial guards to maintain order. The decisive battle arrived as scheduled. Ximen and Yi stood facing each other on the roof. After introducing their weapons and achievements, Ximen noticed that Yi was absent-minded and suggested postponing the battle to another day. At this moment, someone suddenly flew to the rooftop and launched a sneak attack. Yi was hit and fell. The attacker turned out to be the last disciple of the Tang sect. Yi, suffering from the poison, demanded the antidote from him. He admitted that he was not Yi. He tore off the mask on his face, revealing his true identity as another disciple of the Tang sect. But he had clearly died at Ye's hands in the tavern before, so why did he impersonate Yi to duel in his place? Dragon 9's heart trembled, realizing the grim situation. The only explanation was that he had long colluded with Yi, and their previous acts were all part of a play, deceiving everyone. At this moment, the real Yi had already put on the dragon robe and arrived at the Emperor's sleeping quarters, while the previously faked death, the eunuch steward Lu Tong, also emerged. All of this was his conspiracy. He had first arranged a duel with Ximen to disrupt people's perception, then distributed fake gold medals to lure martial artists into the palace, and finally used the opportunity to transfer the elite troops and army away, facilitating his plan to usurp the throne. Yi felt that he was superior to the Emperor in both talent and martial arts, so the Emperor should let him become the Emperor. The Emperor pointed out that even if he became the Emperor, the people would not be happy. The eunuch then said that he had already ordered someone to make a lifelike mask of the current Emperor's face. After the Emperor's death, Yi would wear the mask to impersonate him and continue sitting on the throne. In a critical moment, Dragon 9 arrived in time. In fact, they had already seen through Ye's scheme from the moment he returned the Imperial Jade Seal, because the real National Jade Seal was missing a corner, while the one Yi brought back was intact, obviously fabricated for merit. The disciples of the Tian Shan sect accidentally overheard Yi, the sixth brother, and Lu Tong's conspiracy, which is why he killed them to silence them. The true identity of the third puppet was actually Yi. Princess Phoenix finally understood that Yi was not injured at all, and all his previous tenderness towards her was fake. Unfortunately, due to a twist of fate, the Tang sect disciple who had been wandering outside actually came for revenge. He didn't know the truth, so he accidentally killed his own younger brother, and the entire plan was exposed. Seeing that the plot was revealed, 50,000 soldiers and 800 imperial guards were stationed outside the palace. Yi knew he couldn't escape death, but he still proposed to have one final battle with Ximen. The emperor agreed and granted Yi and Ximen a battle. On the night of the full moon, at the peak of the Forbidden City, this decisive battle finally arrived. It was the ultimate showdown between the two great swordsmen of that time. They drew their swords without a word and attacked each other. As they clashed, sword energy filled the air. Yi, with no worries in his heart, displayed the pinnacle of his transcendent swordsmanship. In the flickering shadows, his sword energy soared. Even saying that his swordsmanship had reached the strongest in history would not be an exaggeration. However, because Ximen still had someone he loved in his heart, he couldn't reach the state of supreme loneliness. Then both sides leaped up simultaneously, gathering their sword energy for their final move. The outcome between them was about to be revealed in this decisive moment. They concentrated all their lifelong skills into their swords, focusing their energy. The two sword energies clashed with each other, and suddenly a dazzling white light burst forth, shooting straight into the sky. Beyond the column of light, there was faint mist and sound, evidently Ye's transcendent sword technique. After the white light dissipated, a smile appeared on Ye's face, but Ximen looked somewhat surprised. When the crowd arrived, they saw Ximen's sword had already pierced into Ye's chest, while Ye's sword had missed. Yi was defeated. At the moment of his death, he once again looked towards the supreme dragon throne, exerting all his strength to crawl towards it, but he couldn't climb those few steps. Unable to bear seeing him in such a sorry state, the princess stepped forward to help him up. The guards were about to stop her, but they were held back by Ximen and Dragon 9. Sitting on the dragon throne was also fulfilling Ye's wish, and he could finally die in peace. The only flaw in his plan was that he truly fell in love with Princess Phoenix, and the princess didn't resent him for deceiving her. She was satisfied as long as he admitted this love verbally. Afterward, Yi took out a blood-stained handkerchief and proposed to her. He placed the blood-stained veil over the princess's face. In the end, the two kissed through the veil, and Yi ceased breathing in the princess's embrace. Ximen emerged victorious and saw Jade waiting for him outside the Meridian Gate. Without a word, they tightly embraced each other. He fulfilled his promise to return alive and finally expressed his feelings for her.